Let's take a look at all the inputs coming at us. Hi, I'm Dave Edwards. Most of us struggle with the number of emails we get and have to process every day. But I've noticed that we have input creep these days. More and more inputs besides email coming at us. I hardly get a snail mail anymore, and it's pretty rare if I get a phone call. But in addition to email, one of my clients said I should use Slack. So for the purpose of that client's work, I enrolled in Slack. I have people texting me all the time. Somebody suggested I sign up for some other service, which I can't even remember now, or how it was going to help me. So in one of my ongoing conversations with David Allen, the author of GTD, Getting Things Done, I asked him how he handles it
I
all.
think you once said that you should have as many inboxes as you need, but try to get by with as few as you can. And I want to talk about that because I've been trying to streamline my systems, and I discovered that I just have too many inputs. I have my physical inbox, the notepad in my GTD wallet. That's not a problem. But I've got input from Facebook, and now a client wants me on Slack, and I've got multiple email accounts and the forums, not to mention paper. I mean, just getting control of that is starting to feel overwhelming. Any suggestions about that?
Well, I would suggest there's probably a difference between what's showing up in the forums and what's showing up in Slack with a client in terms of quality, consciousness, and response. So that you just have to get clear about. Hey, I'd let the forums go for 2 months because nothing's going to die. I'm not going to die. Nothing's going to blow up if I don't look at or respond to it. Now, you might feel like, yeah, I want to. That's fine. But then you have to then plug the want to, in your calibration of priorities, versus I had better make sure I'm not missing anything in X, Y, and Z. So whatever you might not want to be missing something in X, Y, and Z, what are the X, Y, and Z's? Can you reduce those? Maybe you can't. There are people who can't. There are people who there was a time when we organized the GTD Summit in 2019. Our partners who were organizing that used Slack. They loved it. They wanted us to use that. So I had to use it just because that was demanded for us to produce that event. So it's like, okay, do I have to? But then I had to then make sure that I looked through whatever the Slack messages were sufficiently enough to make sure I was engaged with that appropriately. So, you have to, that's why I say as many as you need, and I needed that, but as few as you can get by with. As soon as the summit was done, off of Slack, thank you, don't need it anymore. So reducing the channels, I talk about channel creep these days, and that's what you're talking about. There's so many channels that are creeping into what we think we might need to be engaged with. We think what we might need to, take into consideration, make decisions about, or do something about. But that, I sort of threw that as a phrase, but that's true. That I think I might need to do something about, or think something about. What are those channels? Mm-hmm. And you need as many of those channels as you need. If you're doing major research, in a scientific community or whatever about X, Y, and Z, there are probably a lot of channels that you feel like you need to see what's going on there. And so that's just part of your job, is just to then, curate, calibrate, whatever's coming across in terms of data through those channels. But basically, as few as you can get by with.
Yeah, I mean, what's frustrating to me is that a lot of these platforms make it very difficult to capture the ideas, and so you end up having to, open another note or write it down or whatever else. I mean, email.
Come on, cut and paste, Dave. Call Control X, and then Control V.
I'm lazy, David.
Yeah, I'm lazy too. That's why I do Control X. Call, hey, I might want to save that idea or that thought or whatever it needs to go into a to do. in Microsoft, or needs to go as a piece of, data. My Dutch coach just reminded me his dog's name is Charlie. So I made a note. I'm going to put Charlie in my contacts with him. I know that his dog's name is Charlie because he loves his dog. He loves his dog, Charlie. That's a good thing to know, right? But that's something I had to capture. But come on, pen and paper. I didn't want to. How many clicks would I need to have done to have captured that idea? And how many clicks would I need to do to then put that idea where it needs to go? So, that's the lazy side of me.
It's hard to think of David Allen, the productivity guru, being lazy. But every time he says it, it makes me feel so much better. David Allen, of course, is the author of GTD, Getting Things Done. I remember reading his book cover to cover rather quickly when I first bought it, but creating a system around GTD took more time. I now use Evernote to keep track of everything using GTD techniques. Because you might be looking for better ways to implement GTD, I created an online on-demand course called Getting Things Done with Evernote. It takes you step by step through my implementation process, and I show you how it works. Plus, we review GTD principles with an eye towards the best ways of implementing them. I hope you check out the course, Getting Things Done with Evernote, at daveedwardsmedia.com. Just click on courses. More with David Allen soon, so please subscribe so you don't miss any of them. I'm Dave Edwards. Stay productive.